I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Are you ready to win at the game of life? Well, throw out that rulebook and get down to the business of being the best and most authentic version of you. Welcome to the Human Design Podcast. We're changing the rules around success, abundance, purpose, love, and life, where we're creating a planet where everyone can thrive in a world that loves and supports each other. I'm your host, Emma Dunwoody, a qualified master coach, human design expert, podcaster, and entrepreneur that is living the life of my dreams, breaking all the rules while doing it, making a huge impact, and living my design and manifesting miracles on the daily. Join me as I break down and simplify everything you need to live in alignment with your human design, teach you how to recondition your unconscious mind for greatness, and to take back your power so you can manifest your heaven on earth and serve the rest of the planet at the same time. It's time to give up the fear and step into your highest potential, to reach for the stars, to know and live your greatness. It's what you deserve, and it's what the planet really needs from you. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. I was first introduced to the Analemma when listening to Luke's Stories podcast, and it absolutely blew my mind. I mean, I understand the importance of water on our health and well-being, but I didn't realize the huge impact drinking coherent water has on our energy, vitality, and longevity. The physical state of water plays such a key role in our biology of life. Did you know that water is the conduit communicating between life, i.e. our bodies, the sun, the earth, and the quantum field? And the more coherent the water, the better the communication. And unfortunately, most of the water that we drink these days has been changed from its natural coherent state through this process of modern water systems and treatments. The Analemma is a tool that enhances the quality of our drinking water by transforming it into coherent, liquid crystalline state, a groundbreaking technology with scientifically proven benefits. I first experienced the Analemma last year after hearing the incredible benefits they had discovered from their 13 plus years of research. These were including things like improved skin, increased energy, balancing the gut microbiome, and research even shows that the Analemma water reduces your biological age after drinking it for just 3 months. I mean, look, I've been drinking it now for nearly 2 years and look at me. But seriously, I take this little device, the Analemma, everywhere I go because it makes water or any liquid I'm drinking coherent so my body can get the most goodness out of it, and honestly, so it can also detox all the not so great stuff in the water that I'm drinking more easily. So if you want to hear my first-hand line 3 experiences of the Analemma on my body, and you want to hear more of their powerful research, then feel free to tune into episode 231 of this podcast. Otherwise, if you're just ready to go out and grab one, follow the links in the show notes and make sure you use my unique code when at the checkout. Enjoy. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Well, today's episode is really all about reflecting on the week that was. How was your week? Because mine was freaking challenging. I mean, I was revisiting patterns from over a decade ago. I was feeling more emotion than I've felt for, I'm going to say, years. I was being faced with, I don't know, the ramifications, the consequences of choices I made a really long time ago. And I was so emotionally exhausted over the weekend. I could hardly keep my shit together. Now, gratefully, I was fully aware that some crazy stuff is going on with the planets. I actually saw something on Instagram from one of the astrologers that I follow, and she was basically talking about us being sandwiched in this dark night of the soul energy right now between eclipses and something Neptune's doing. And it really, really resonated with me. So I thought what I would do is today, on another short and sweet episode, really talk about the day-to-day, the simplification of, well, how do we actually live in alignment with our design, and how do we use it to help navigate through challenging times? So, the first thing I want to talk about is, well, being a manifesting generator myself, I have the 3420, so I have this very quick, this very fast energy. And from a human design perspective, in the transits over the last week, there's been a lot of energy that's been almost pressuring us, trying to hurry us up to get stuff done. I was really feeling that pressure to hurry up. And being an emotional authority, a lot of the time I don't have to think about my authority anymore. It just kind of happens. I slow things down, I sleep on things. But with this energy, I was really aware that I was like, just send the text or do the email or whatever it is. And instead, I was really conscious of a couple of times I actually typed out a text and just went, yeah, nah, I'll just copy and paste that to Evernote and just leave it. And then ultimately sleep on it. And I felt so different the next day. But being an emotional authority, especially when we're experiencing a significant amount of stress, so I had a lot of stress going on. I kind of felt like most areas of my life last week, I was feeling a very significant challenge that needed my instant attention. So I was feeling this huge amount of stress. And I don't feel a lot of stress these days, but I did notice that that stress just amplified my emotional wave. It meant that, things that I can usually handle and deal with, that calm, that centeredness, that groundedness just wasn't there. I was really noticing reactionary energy in my body, in my mind. Even when I was meditating, I found it really hard to center, even to contemplate my mantra, let alone actually say it in my head. So in those times when we're feeling heightened stress, one of the biggest challenges is that it does disconnect us from our heart. It disconnects us from, in human design terms, our strategy and authority. We get into the mind. We operate from our conditioning. So really the things that we want to do is we want to start to ask ourselves better questions. Now, one of the areas of my life was that I was feeling a lot of stress around was relationships. So what did I do? I actually just took a look at my design moon in the Gene Keys. This is called our attraction sphere. And I just had a read over it. I had a listen to it, just to kind of find a resonance in my body. Okay, well, what's my body? What's my biofeedback? What am I responding to when I read this, when I look at it? And it really gave me some huge insights to, number one, it was patience, to understand that I need to slow everything down. So what am I feeling? I'm already consciously aware of my authority and I'm slowing down. Then I'm sort of instinctively drawn to look at this attraction sphere, which is all about relationships. And the 53 is like, slow it down, let whatever's going on move from immaturity, into expansion and then into superabundance. And I just realized this bigger collective energy that was making me feel this real pressure to sort out this hard stuff, where my human design was actually giving me the nudge to go, hey, it's icky. I get that it's uncomfortable right now, but the best way to deal with this is to slow down your decision making, take your foot off the pedal, trying to get any relationship further down a particular road. Just, pump the brakes a little bit. And this is something that I think is incredibly beautiful about our design. And when we are listening to our instinct, we're curious. For me personally, last week also meant that I kind of dove deep into some learning, because that'll tend to be what I do when I feel myself, stuck or feeling icky because there's something going on in my life and my line 5 just wants a solution. My 16 drives me to, okay, well, I need to learn more about something and master it. So I kind of started to dive deep into a couple of different subjects. And one thing that I did dive into and I was watching was Code 12, this new movie that's just come out. It was free to watch over the weekend. So it could even still be free if you're in the US when this goes live. And oh my God, it was fascinating. It was really about talking or at least about the idea that we are potentially in this simulation, which is what we would call our conditioning. It's very much about this link between our DNA and our consciousness. And did you know that of the 12 strands of our DNA, in most people, 3 are activated? There's now this correlation, and I can't remember the guy's name. I will go back and freaking Google it. There is this correlation between each strand of our DNA and each dimension. So every time you activate the next strand, if you like, that's when you get access to the next dimension. And ultimately, this whole documentary is about the fact that we have been deliberately disconnected from, this full activation, our full potential of our DNA. It's fascinating. However, the point of my story is that I'm watching this movie. I've got my feet up. I'm trying to rest and recover from feeling super stressed. And then in that moment, my sacral's like, oh my God, this is it. And I know that the work that I'm doing is definitely linked in. Human design is linked in. The Gene Keys is linked in. And all of a sudden, I feel my sacral kick back in. I feel my heart start to open up again. So these are ways that I actually work with my human design as these beautiful little goalposts that it's kind of, for me, it feels like it's an old friend. It's maybe my higher self. It's something that knows more and is larger than me, helping me navigate through specifically challenging events. And I also got led to reading this book about the 12 universal laws. And one of the things that I loved about this book, and this is another way that I navigate through challenge, and I'm really just sharing my experience to invite you to maybe inspire you to try some of, this line 3 or more line 5 solutions, is that as I started to listen to this book, I was like, wow, I can see where I'm playing out from the mind, from fear, versus from my heart, from my soul, from alignment, and really got me back on focusing on what is important and how I can have an impact and how I can grow from the challenge. One of the things I've been really aware of recently, and this is me just kind of riffing on something I've noticed, and I'm really curious to kind of follow this breadcrumb. We now live in a world where those of us that are in this group, meaning this group of humans that want to grow and evolve, we now have this, I don't know what the correct word is. I'm going to use the word habit of spending so much time looking at our trauma, our patterns, our shadows, our limiting beliefs. One of the things I noticed in me over this weekend, and the 12 universal laws really helped me see it clear as day, is that all of this, although it's important and we have to heal it, it's like on some level it's hijacking our focus. It's hijacking our potential. It's creating our frequency. I realized specifically with one of my relationships that, I felt really low frequency. I didn't feel like myself. I felt misunderstood, unheard, disrespected, all of these energies that I've not felt for the longest time. And I could justify every single one of those feelings. I could see a pattern that needed to be healed or changed. Or I could see where someone had actually treated me in a way that probably wasn't fair or probably wasn't loving. And going over this book and really just checking back in with all the things that I've learned and I know, and really coming back to my attitude. Like, what is the attitude I want to take into everything? What is the attitude I want to take into my challenges that I'm experiencing right now? And this brings it full circle. It brings it back to my 53 in my attraction sphere. I want everything to come back to growth, because that moment where you get out of your comfort zone and you do the thing that feels correct, even though your ego doesn't want you to do it, even though your wound is screaming at you like, I'm not ready, I don't want to move on, whatever that is. And you just know, like, I feel it in every cell of my body that when I step into that evolutionary place, when I step into that higher version of you, that higher timeline of me, I feel amazing. So for me, I wanted to share just a little reflection on how I have navigated through a really challenging week, and how I let the universe just guide me. As a manifesting generator, I'm constantly responding to things that show up in my world. And because of that, I watched Code 12. I read the 12 Universal Laws. I read another parenting book. I reflected a lot on my specific gene keys. I looked at the transits. Like, the universe is always guiding you where you want to go. And within your human design, within your gene keys, you have this blueprint of who you're here to be and how you're here to navigate through life. And there's all these specific, really juicy areas that you can dive into depending on what you're dealing with in your life, in every day, for guidance, for coaching, for support. And I love that. I love that for all of us. I think it's so incredibly powerful that we have this treasure map that we can access whenever we need it to help navigate. And ultimately, as the Gate 55 teaches us, move us out of victimization and into freedom. Move us out of powerlessness to empowerment. And it does it pretty easily and effortlessly, right? We just have to learn not to resist it. Anyway, I would invite you to have a little bit of a look at the week that's gone past and perhaps where your strategy and authority or your design has helped to inform your growth, your evolution, your healing, your relationships, whatever it might be. And just give yourself a pat on the back for the way that you are learning to surrender to your design, surrender to the universe, and allow yourself to be guided to the highest potential of you. Awesome. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now. Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.